Welcome! We're back.
Here we are.
The LaurEm podcast returns.
We are talking about language today, and not only language in teaching, but also how you talk to yourself and then how you talk to other people, and how it really all feeds into the same cycle and how it can produce real effects in your body and mindset also.
Yeah, one of the big words that we've noticed can make an impact on how you feel about something, whether it's a task you have in front of you or a yoga pose or a challenging project, is using the word should. When you say I should do this or you should do that, it immediately puts this pressure of there is an expectation, and if you're not meeting it, it's not okay.
Right. And also it kind of takes, you're not taking responsibility for your decisions when you're using words like should, because it's like, okay, I should go to the grocery store. It's like, okay, says who?
So if I read between the lines, I feel like the best decision is to go to the grocery store. However, I'm not going to the grocery store. So now I feel maybe guilty that I'm not going to the grocery store, but at the heart of it is, are you doing anything about it?
Right? Exactly.
Are you making a choice?
Mm-hmm. And so changing that just subtle shift of language from I should go to the grocery store to I'm choosing not to go to the grocery store because I'd rather do this thing, or I'm just choosing not to go. But
or I really do need to go to the grocery store because we need groceries. I am choosing to make time to go to the grocery store.
Right.
Yeah, I had an experience today as I was doing some stuff at home, and then I was going to an appointment, and I wanted to do the activity I was doing at home right up until the time I was going to walk out the door. Then I was thinking, I'm hungry. I should eat something. I don't want to mess with it. And then I was like, no, I will go downstairs and choose to make time to eat because my body needs the food in order to go to the next appointment. And it was this weird feeling because for me, it felt almost wrong to lose that time doing the other activity, which is playing in my aerial yoga setup at home. I wanted to keep going. And at the same time, I wasn't going to have any energy for a workout later if I didn't take time to eat. So I had this simultaneous hard choice, but it was also like a win because I had to speak to myself and think I am nourishing my body with this leftover salmon. Even though it's called salmon, I thank you, God, for this salmon.
It helps me nourish my body.
Yes, and I was like, this is good. Emily, this is good. This is what you've been working on.
Yeah.
And that was like this whole little internal process, and there was lots of talking to me going on. And it could have been like, oh, I should have eaten. I'm going to get a headache. I'm not going to have energy. And we've got volleyball. And guess what? The responsibility is within me.
Right.
It's nobody else's job to make time for me to eat.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the great thing about it. When you can take more responsibility for yourself and your actions, then also I feel like that translates into, and I'm going on a tangent here now, but like not allowing other people's stuff to affect you, because it's like, nope, I'm responsible for me, you're responsible for you, and I don't have to take on whatever you're trying to put on me from an emotional standpoint or mental load.
Yeah, we're not victims of the shoulds or of other people's issues that come up. We have choices, and as we discussed in our saying yes and saying no, you make choices. You say yes to something and you say no to other things, or say no so that you can be a yes. And again, I said no to 10 more minutes on the aerial hammock.
So that you could say yes and nourishing.
Yes, I was like, yes.
That's important.
Yes. And I'm eating leftovers. Get extra points. Yay, me.
Yay.
It's the little things. Yeah, is there anything you can think of in your life where you don't feel like super confident about? Maybe you're not at your best, but it's something you do on a regular basis.
You're like, I should do this.
Or like how you speak to yourself about it. Do you tend to turn it into something bigger than it really is? Maybe you don't have anything in mind.
Well, I think, like your aerial example, or wanting to spend more time doing something that you enjoy doing, but then there's something else that you really want to do also that's very important to you, but also can be overlooked sometimes. I feel like spending time with family can kind of fall in that category. Like your family's there, and I feel like it's very easy sometimes to take that for granted and be like, oh, they'll be there later, I'll catch them for half an hour here and there. But it's like, okay, no, I want to choose to have devoted time that I'm present with them. And even if that means saying no to something else that you want to go to or spend more time doing, I feel like that trade is super important, especially for me right now personally.
Do you have a little internal conversation with yourself, kind of like, or do you feel like you have to kind of say, okay, I'm choosing this because this is what I want, even if I'm having to let go of productivity or other things that totally fill your cup too, but your priorities are just shifting at any given point in your life, you know?
Over the summer when we had significantly less childcare, I really had to have the conversation with myself and be like, nope, okay, our baseline for how much you're going to get done in one day is just going to shift, and we're going to be okay with that, because what's the alternative? You're freaking out about not getting as much done and not enjoying the time that you have with my now 1.5-year-old, but I'm not going to get that time back. So
yeah, and if you're not fully in, or you're not speaking, like shaping your attitude about it, you're really losing on both ends.
Yeah,
you're like not getting stuff done, and you're not fully able to be present or enjoy the time because you feel divided.
Yeah, and there's a time that you obviously have to focus and get things done, but figuring out when those buckets are, like during nap time, hopefully napping, or whether you get a babysitter for 2 hours so that you can get stuff done, but being in the space where you can make a conscious choice, so it's not, oh, I should be playing with you, or I should be getting this report done. It's like, nope, okay, the report will still be there. I can spend time with you and play with whatever we're playing with for these 20 minutes before you go down for a nap, and actually enjoy that time instead of being stressed about the report that's due.
And so it frees you up in the end.
It's very liberating.
Yeah, but all that internal dialogue, I'm convinced it makes a big difference, and it adds up to be a much bigger conversation. And it could be also if you have an old injury. I've had some hamstring injuries. I've had a lot of people with shoulder injuries, and they may say, oh, I have bad shoulders. And sometimes as a yoga teacher, we'll say, hey, your shoulders, let's change the narrative. Your shoulders aren't bad. Let's see what they're capable of, Maybe they just need a little extra strengthening, or let's take a look and see where do you feel discomfort? Because sometimes there's a little seed that's planted at some point in your life, and it may be legitimate, but we can just keep replaying that over and over and carry it and not grow because we've convinced ourselves my shoulders are bad, or oh, I can't be strong in a straightened leg because I've had a hamstring injury. And the brain's really good at protecting us. It's like trying to make sure we take care of the thing we're so concerned about, and yet we need sometimes to kind of break out of it and create a new narrative about it. And as teachers, if we're telling people things like, oh, be careful of this and make sure you don't do this, we could totally flip it and say, here is the way to do this, and try to engage here in, I'm not saying specific poses, but you get the idea of, can we positively state what we're trying to say rather than create all of this concern and worry and fear surrounding something.
And you said earlier, because then you're not even, like, you're not leaving room for growth, and if you're kind of closing yourself off in that mindset, you're not even creating any opportunity for possibility of growth. So just changing subtle ways of, one, how we're speaking, but also how we're speaking to ourselves. Like another example is, oh, I can't do yoga, I have tight hamstrings. It's like, well, one, even if you do have tight hamstrings, you can still do yoga. And also, do you have tight hamstrings? Who told you I have tight hamstrings? Do they feel tight? Did you do a heavy lift? Are they sore? All legitimate things, but there are also ways to work around that. Bend the knees, like
yoga can help tight hamstrings.
Yeah, so it does. Don't put yourself in a box. I feel like you say that a lot, and I've adopted it.
I think that sounds familiar.
So don't put yourself in a box. Don't. You want to say this one? Don't.
Yeah, don't should yourself, because the more you do, the more discouraged you'll be, and you're just stopping one step short of taking control, taking responsibility, owning your choices, and really feeling good about what you do. I'll give one last example because it's been very recent. Is and we were sharing this in teacher training. Is I taught yoga for quite a while before I went through the sculpt training, and I really love sculpt, and I can shift into sculpt mode. However, it takes a different kind of energy from me because I don't have a fitness background. And I mean, I'll get after it, like I have it within, but to keep it on for an entire 45 minutes for me is very like stimulating in a hard way. And I have this doubt that comes up with like, can I really do it? You know, can I really keep it going? Because it doesn't have the pauses as much as a yoga class, and you're cueing, you're demoing. And I went through the training to really grow myself as a teacher, and I wanted to be able to teach sculpt, and I value what it does for me. Well, anyway, I've had this little voice in the back of my head, and I do teach sculpt, but it's like I did the training, 2 years ago? And I've had the voice, it's like, sculpt is hard for me. Oh, I gotta, you know, like, can I really keep it up? I gotta keep the energy up. Or am I, you know, doing the right exercise, whatever. And somewhere down the line, I guess now that I have another sculpt class, I was like, you know what? And going through teacher training always presses things that aren't serving me out of me. I was like, I'm really good at teaching sculpt.
She is.
I actually like the process. Yes, it takes more energy from me, and it takes more planning. And I think part of what did it is I taught a class to help someone else out without much preparation, and it was one of my best classes, and I was like, well, maybe I need to
like
trust
the pressure
myself.
and
Yeah, I was like,
expectation was
I'm fully capable, but I've been stealing my enjoyment by having this little voice still there going, I don't feel as comfortable teaching sculpt as I do yoga. Well, that's not an indication that I should or shouldn't do it, or that it's something to shy away from. I have a choice, and if I'm choosing to teach it and put myself in that position, then I may as well own it and teach kick-ass class and enjoy it. And anyway, so that's been a little personal process that even as an experienced teacher, I'm becoming aware of just unhealthy, unhelpful thoughts that just the way I speak. I'm like, I'm going to change the narrative, you know? I'm going to. I am changing it.
Yes, you are. Yeah, I caught myself in a class the other day giving a cue, and I do remember what it was. I was giving an option to separate your feet in chair, and I said, if you have any pain or pinching in your low back, and I was like, I don't want them to think that, like, why am I drawing attention to the fact that it could be on a negative? So what I've been saying more recently is, if you would like more stability, because that really helped me when I was pregnant. I felt so much more stable with my feet wider, and I was like, this feels great, and I still like it. But I caught myself, and I was like, who am I limiting or like taking down instead of lifting up with that phrasing? So anyway, we're all still growing and learning.
Yeah, and the cue's well-intentioned, you know. It started from a good place, but maybe somebody feels some kind of sensation in their back. It may or may not be pain, but by just giving an option, you know, they can take it without having to connect it with pain.
And then fear.
Yeah,
and then the cycle continues. So anyway.
Yeah, it's something, it's worth, you know, journaling if you find yourself repeating similar conversations or words. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Sarah with 901 PT and her anatomy presentation during our 2-hour teacher training at Hot Yoga Plus. She gives a great discussion on language and how we as teachers have the power to shape other people's experiences, and in their physical therapy practice, there are certain words that they've learned and has been researched are not helpful in outcomes, in patient outcomes. It's really powerful, and that's definitely carried over to us in yoga teaching. And then you start thinking, well, it also matters how I talk to myself.
And then little things that you say to other people, even outside of the context of teaching, and how that can affect them, even with just like a sharp word that you maybe didn't mean. But so just taking a minute to respond and not react is a whole separate conversation that maybe we'll get into at some point. But yes, let us know how you have caught yourself in these cycles of language, or if there's anything that you guys have questions about. Drop it in the comments, shoot us an email, let us know.
Your top shoulds. And just remember, don't should yourself.
No shitting.
No shitting.